Hey guys, Zodiacs here and welcome to another one of my Airline Manager tutorials. In this video I'm going to be going into a much more detailed description, a step-by-step guide on how to create a 168-hour route. If you have watched my previous videos on scheduling, I will have explained roughly what a 168-hour route is, and obviously in this video I'll be going through it step by step and you can see exactly how one is created. I also recommend that you watch my demand and aircraft selection video. In that video I go through a spreadsheet that I use for calculating the demand, and it helps give a guide on which aircraft you want to use. I will be using that in this video, so I strongly recommend that you watch that first if you haven't. There is also a small edit to that spreadsheet. It is in the description of the demand video, but I will show you that edit here. I bring up the spreadsheet. In the column here, flights per day, I've changed the formula. Instead of 48, it is now 24, obviously hours per day, and then multiplied by 2 afterwards. This is so that the round down function only happens on the initial number and then it's multiplied by 2 after the round down has occurred. I found that some of the flight times that you can put in there would then bring up a negative number for the flights per day, and as the game works in return flights, obviously that means there are 2 one-way flights for each item that you schedule. So obviously the flights per day needs to be an even number for this to work. For that. Right. So for this 168-hour route, let's get rid of that. I'm going to be using the destination.noway.info website, which I showed you in my scheduling video, and this will help us plan which routes we're going to use for our 168-hour route. So for this, first off, you select your aircraft. Going for something like a 777-200 when you're just scouting to start with is advisable, I would say, because it has, compared to all the other modern aircraft, if we look at the 747-8 for example, it's a 911 kilometers per hour speed. And then looking at the larger Airbus aircraft, the A350s, also 911, the A380 903. So I advise going for something like a 777 because of all the aircraft that you're probably going to be using on these long haul routes, it's the slowest, which means that when you come out with your 168-hour route at the bottom, if you decide that you need to go for a slightly bigger aircraft, you know that it's not going to be slower, which would then push it over the 168-hour time that you have for the route. So I'm going with my 777-200 long range. That's the aircraft I've chosen to use for this. I purchased these aircraft earlier today because obviously you don't want to sit here for 5 hours waiting for those to be delivered. My airport is going to be Perth International Airport. That is the hub that I currently operating from out of Australia. Circuit length, obviously you can select here which one you're going to do. We're going to be doing a 168-hour route, and I'm using a tri-class strategy. You can limit your route length to 14,000. I'm not going to do that for this. And for destination hubs, I've excluded Cape Town, Johannesburg and London Heathrow. This is because those 3 I already have hubs, and I already have flights to Perth from those 3 hubs. So obviously I don't want the website to calculate routes that I already own into the 168-hour route. Click on the search bar, and as you can see, it brings up the routes. This one is exactly 168 hours. It's also given us an alternative, which is also 168 hours. So we're going to go for the first one, and I'm going to scroll that down to about there, and then we're going to go over to Airlines Manager. I'm just going to make this slightly smaller so we can, or you guys can still see the route behind. I'll bring that down a touch if it will let me. No, it won't. But anyway, so you can still see the route, and there's just a Haneda in the background there that you can't see. So there's 2 ways of creating your routes when you do this. You can either go through your normal route creation. If you are in the bronze stars, so 1 to 5 bronze stars, you have to do it this way at the moment. So we're starting from Perth. Our first route is to Dallas Fort Worth, so North America. Wait for it to load up all the North American countries. When the game decides it wants to do that, scroll across obviously to the United States, and we can nice and easily just search DFW, Dallas Fort Worth. You can purchase this route, and once you've purchased it, network management, Perth, route management, and if you bring profits to reverse, because we've just bought it, obviously the profits will be the lowest. Manage prices, audit, and adjust all the prices, validate. And we can come out of that. So for those of you who are a 1 silver star or higher, you have the Finder tool. This will allow you to put in your departure hub, which in this case is Perth. Let that find it. Select your aircraft, which in our case is going to be the Boeing 777-200LR. Let that come up. Unfortunately, the game is running relatively slowly today, which is slightly annoying. Come on, you know you want to. Right, so we'll scroll along and find the 777-200LR. So we've already done our Dallas Fort Worth, and our next route is to IAH, which off the top of my head I can't actually think where that is, because I am not American based. I'm sure there's going to be Americans in the chat now going crazy, going, how do you not know where that is? Houston, Texas, there we go. So click on the route, purchase the route. Yes, unfortunately on these screens you can go straight in to the route details and manage your prices, validate those, confirm, and then do the same again for Denver, which is in, I know where Denver is, it's in Colorado. Where Colorado is, I don't know. Denver, there we go, I actually clicked in the right place. Purchase that route. Route details, manage the prices again. Close that. The next is Istanbul, which is in Turkey. Is that showing up there? Nope. Istanbul. Purchase that route. Do the prices again. And finally we do the same for Haneda. Fortunately I have it as a hub, which makes that much easier to create the route. Route details, manage prices, audit, adjust all of those. Right, the next part of this, if you go back to your normal main screen, come out of that. If you go to your aircraft and select the hub that you have departed from, this is the easy way to do it, by the way. Oh, what I've done, I've gone to the wrong place. So if you already have long-haul aircraft operating from that hub, an easy way for the next thing is to that one I want. So obviously because I've pre-purchased my 777s, I can just click on them. But if you have a long-haul aircraft, click on any of those aircraft, hit the schedule button. You're not going to change any of the scheduling. This is just a view-only form, basically. So you just want to be able to, so on the screen, as you can see, I can see all 5 of my routes that I've got on here, starting at the top left, Tokyo, all the way through to Dallas, and it shows you all the demands for those 5. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring up the Excel spreadsheet. If I remove that, ooh, where have I gone? There it is. Right. So, as we're doing a 168-hour route, that is designed where you fly to each airport once in the entire week. And because you do that across 7 aircraft, as I explained in my scheduling video, 1 flight per day is the equivalent of a 24-hour flight. I'm going to post all of the numbers that you put in those flight times for each variation of these. So obviously if you have a 168-hour route, you put in 24 for the flight time, which is 1 flight a day. If you're doing an 84-hour route, you would put in 12 in the flight time, because you're flying there twice a day with aircraft, and the equivalent of twice a day would be a 12-hour flight. For 56-hour routes, you would put in 8-hour flight time. 42-hour routes is 6-hour flight time, and 28-hour routes, which would be a 4-hour flight time. This just allows the formulas and everything to work out, and I'll go through the rest of it as we progress. So in the economy box, we want to find our route that has the lowest economy demand, and in this case it is Houston, which is 1,167 economy. For business class, our lowest demand for that is also Houston, which is 425. And finally, for first class, our lowest demand is Tokyo, which is 147. Now, under normal 24-hour route circumstances, it is simply 1 aircraft, 2 aircraft, 3 aircraft, 4 aircraft, and 5 aircraft. When you're doing these larger schedules, where you're using 7 aircraft, where it says 1 aircraft, that is 1 set of 7 aircraft. So if you find an aircraft for along this row, I'm just going to minimize Airlines Manager so you can see the Excel spreadsheet properly. There we go. So for these routes, so for anything from 28 hours all the way up to the 160-hour routes that we've gone through, each one of these represents a set of 7 aircraft. So as you can see, it's all calculated out. So if I was to use 7 aircraft, I would need I'd need to use 7 aircraft that have a capacity of 1,299. For 14 aircraft, I'd need to use an aircraft with 647. For 21 aircraft, 430. And for 28 aircraft, one that has a capacity of 324. As I said to you earlier, I've already purchased a 14 777s. So we'll be looking along the 14 aircraft line. It's saying 647. I'm going to be well clear of that because obviously the capacity of a 777 is 440, so I'm going to have plenty of empty or remaining demand still. So that's how the spreadsheet works when using the longer routes. So you've got to remember that where it says 1 aircraft, that is one set of 7 aircraft. So yeah, with these, everything runs in sets of 7 aircraft. So bring back Airlines Manager, and once you'll have been able to look at the schedule, your spreadsheet, and say, right, I'm going to use 14 aircraft using however many seats that it's worked it out as, and you'll come to your aircraft. Any one of them is fine, doesn't matter which one you've picked, and you'll start your schedule. So first off, we're going to put in Tokyo, and to make this easy, I'm just going to start this bang on first thing. Come back out of that, we're going to go Istanbul next, and bring that up right to the end. Next up is Denver, put it there, followed by Houston, there we go, and finally Dallas, and that should slot in nicely there. So there you can see all 5 of our routes fill up the entire 168 hours of that schedule. Now for the first 7 aircraft, so this is the first aircraft, we're going to copy the schedule. I'm going to filter it for use, because sometimes if you've got multiple aircraft that can fly those routes, you'll have random aircraft in it, whereas if you filter by sort by use, you'll have all your brand new aircraft that have got no schedule right at the front for you. Hit the 6 aircraft you want to use. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, done that right. And for the first one, you're going to go plus 24 hour schedule shift. For the second aircraft, you're going to go 22 plus 2 days, plus 3 days for the third, plus 4 days for the fourth even, 5 days for the fifth, and plus 6 days for the final one. So this will phase that shift out for one day for each of these 7 aircraft. I'm going to hit confirm on that, and it will ask you to validate it. As you can see there, we've got 6 aircraft which we've copied the schedules to, and we'll finalize the 7th that we have created initially. So if we go right now and have a look at those routes, you can now see that, so Dallas will click on there, flights on this route, and starting from tomorrow, in this case at 8 AM, we will have a flight. You can see there the aircraft used is a -10. The following day is the same route, but it's done by the aircraft serial number -6, and so on and so on. To schedule the second set of 7 aircraft, you can do the same again. Find your aircraft that you've already purchased, hit the schedule button, and for me personally, I'm going to offset from 12 hours from the first set of 7. So these, instead of taking off at midnight, these ones are going to start at midday, starting with Tokyo, and we're going to follow the same order as we did previously. So Istanbul, Denver, Houston, and last but not least, Dallas. And that will slot in nicely there. Once again, we are going to copy the schedule. As you can see here, you can see that some of those aircraft are ones that we've already used. So if you sort by use with the up arrow, you can then see your 6 aircraft that you have left. that you haven't used that. So you can tick all of those, and we're going to do the same again. 24-hour shift on the first one, 2 days on the second, 3 days on the third, 4 on the fourth, 5 on the fifth, and finally 6 on the last aircraft. Confirm that and validate it, and then confirm your initial route. And now if we go back into our network and look at the same flight as before with Dallas, you can see that, so from tomorrow you have 2 flights a day, and now running at 8 PM and 8 AM. And that is the basics of how you set up your 168-hour route. Principles are exactly the same for the other variations, the 84, 56, 42 and 28-hour route. You just have to remember to take into account that each aircraft will be flying there twice in a week rather than once in a week as you do with the 168 hours. Right, that concludes this video then. Hope that's been helpful for you guys. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel for any more tutorials that I do. Don't forget to hit that like button, and if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to ask them in the comments section below. I will try my best to answer any questions I can. But other than that, thanks for watching guys, and I will catch you again soon. Thank you, bye.